Welcome back to another video. Today we will be discussing the if functions. So, as I have said before, these functions will be a little more complicated to understand, and that's why I will be making a video for each of these, maybe one or two if they're related. So, today we're going to discuss the if function. The if function is um, basically used to provide a logical test, just like it's used, the little description they give us. Basically, is whenever we want to label things, whenever we want to label things from our data that it would just take way too long for us to visually see or try to make sense of. So, for example, right here we have the if function section. The first exercise, or the first example we're going to do, is to use the if function to label students graduating if they have 1 year left in college. And you have to take into account that the graduation year is 2028. So, right here we have the if function number one. Okay, we will start off with the equal sign, and then if. It does not matter whether whenever you write on these functions it's capitalized or not, is fine. Excel reads it the same way. So we will open parentheses, and as you can see, we have a logical test that we have to give it, and we have to give it a value if it's true and a value if it's false. So that's the same thing that I gave to you guys down here. I pretty much gave to you guys the way that the functions work, so that you don't have to look at the little thing, because it goes away as soon as sometimes it goes away when you write. Okay, so for the logical test, what does that mean? That means that we are going to tell Excel to make sense of something else. For example, in this one, we want to label students graduating if they have 1 year left. So we are going to look typically to just one row, maybe two, and we're comparing them, and provide a logical test. So for this one, we have the graduation year, so we will select that, and our logical test will be if it's 1 year left from graduation. So if the graduation year is 2028, then we can see that we need a 2027 value for the graduation year in order for us to label them as graduating, right? So we are going to say that it's equal to 2027, and so we put the cell equal to 2027, the value if it's true. So the value is, we can tell it to even type text right here. We will tell it, and it has to be in quotations. So quotation, if it's true, if it is equal to 2027, it will we will tell it to put graduating. Okay, and if it's not true, then we can just put quotations and blank. It means that it won't type anything, and just close it. We are done with the function, and as we can see, it's blank, and we expect that because it's 2024. And as we talked with one of the previous videos that we discussed, the relative and absolute cell reference, if we were to drag this function down by going here to the bottom right corner and waiting for the black cross to pop up, we can drag it down as much as we want. We will drag it down all the way to the bottom, and as you can see, it labeled graduating 3 times. If we want to make sure that it's right, we can see that all of those 3 do have 2027 as their well, it says graduating here, right? Yes, something's a little messed up. So I made it so that you guys could see um, how just a typical common example could be used with the if function. And yeah, even though, let's just say that these are the years that they're in or something like that, and the graduation years 2020, I don't know, whatever. Doesn't really matter. The thing that matters is that you guys know how to use these functions. And here we labeled the years 2027 because that's what we we knew that we needed as graduating. So the second example is to use the if function uh, to label students honor roll if they have at least a 3.0 GPA. So right now, again, we only have 10 pieces of information, but usually we would have like a big row that we just wouldn't be able to just waste that much time in it when we have Excel, right? So we will start off by writing the if function, open parentheses. Our logical test will be a little different now. So the cell will now have a criteria a little more complicated. It won't just be an equal sign. We wanted to tell it to have at least a 3.0 GPA. So down here, I gave you guys different types of criteria that are used whenever you're writing these functions. For example, right now we have the at least 3.0 GPA. So we want a more than or equal to whatever value. So you would need the little symbol and it is you type it in the order that you basically say greater than or equal to, and then your value, which we will give it 3.0. Okay, so if you do switch around the order of the equal sign, it will not work, and I will show that right after. As you know, the arrow points to the smaller sign. Okay, what value do we want it to give if it's true? Well, we want them to be labeled as honor roll, right? And if it is not true, then we can just put a blank. Okay, let's see. Okay, well, this student does have honor roll, and if we drag all the way down, we have a lot of honor roll, so the students are doing well. What if we had switched the order of this equal sign? If we had switched it to equal and then greater than, you'll see that there is a typo. And right here, Excel quickly recognizes that you are trying to say that it is greater than or equal to. So right here, it changed the order for us. Sometimes Excel does this if it's easy to catch mistake. But if not, it will be way harder and you won't know what's wrong with your equation. So please try to not make typos in these formulas. I gave you guys the criteria on the bottom, so yes, we will accept that correction. I gave you guys the criteria here. It's the way that you guys need to use it. And yeah, that is the two examples that we will have for the if function. So if you ever need to label things, then you will just be able to use the if function, give it a logical test, give it tell Excel to give you a value if it is true, or give you another value if it is false. So it is like one of those things you think about whenever you're looking at your data and you just wonder to yourself like, oh, what if I just had something that could label everything for me without me having to look at all of the data myself. Well, if you have Excel, you can do that right away with the if function. You will be able to just basically drag that equation all the way down to how much data you have, and Excel will compute it just fine. So that will be it for this video. If you have any if you have any questions about the if function, please let me know down below. And once again, thank you for watching.